Well, welcome to the Sean Trey Show. I have an awesome guest for you today. And now, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell people who you are and what you do.
My name is Tian, and my username on social media is Electric Roller.
That's awesome. Now tell us what is this name all about? Why is it Electric Roller?
Electric Roller is basic. The premise of how I got the name is I ride a device, a personal electric vehicle, a PEV device, which is short term for personal electric vehicle, and it's called an electric unicycle.
That's
And
awesome.
so it's just basically a single wheel, motored single wheel with batteries on it, and it propels you forward and backwards at high speeds.
And I was going to say, because you're missing something right there. When you're saying it just propels you forwards and backwards. You know, people have some of those images in their head. I mean, and it's like, it's come a long way. These personal transport, devices have come a long way since some of the first ones. Like, I mean, I remember like when the Segway came out,
Yep.
this one. And that was kind of revolutionary because it was, self-balancing but yet still I loved watching like the videos on YouTube because there were people that just couldn't get the hang of it, and going in circles, and then there was the comedic side of like Paul Blart Male Cop, where he's riding one around for half, but like, and then there's like, but yet what you're doing, man, you've got the full setup, and like and this is one of the reasons I was like wanting to interview you, is because I interview like a lot of my focus is on creatives, and especially around filmmaking and stuff like that. And you're making savage videos, it's like action cam type stuff, but it's really, really cool. Now, when did you get into riding an electric roller?
Electric unicycles, I got into about 4 years ago. I'd say that they're still technically new. They've only been in the market for maybe 5-6 years tops. So they're not that popular or well known around the world. I say mainly in the U.S. right now, and maybe certain parts of Europe. You'll see a lot of people riding them. But yeah, I got into it about 4 years ago, and once I got my first wheel, technically we always call them wheels instead of electric unicycles, just short term. Once I got my first wheel, I was hooked. I used to ride electric longboards, e-skates, and I like those, but the versatility of these electric unicycles just outweighed the electric longboards. So yeah, I've been an electric unicycle fan ever since.
That's awesome, man. Now, what is it? Tell me, what is it like to ride one? I mean, is it all momentum? Like, how do you steer and do all that, man?
Do you know what those hoverboards are? Those little two-wheel hoverboards with the small wheels. It's pretty much the same concept as that. You just you lean forward and it moves you forward. When you lean back, it slows you down and it stops you. Awesome. And you don't need any sort of nothing to hold on to because it's basically the gyros that are built into the unit that can sense where your pedal, your I guess the mass is on your feet. So once you're putting more weight on the front of your toes, they'll propel you forward. And once you put the weight on your heels, it will just basically slow you down.
That's awesome. And some of the videos that you have are just really cool. Like how are you shooting these? Let's talk about that. Like production wise, how are you pulling these off? Because like it looks like and I mean I don't know what type of camera you're using because it looks like you've got a camera like a drone that's just following you. Like I don't see any selfie stick. Like how is that working, man?
That's what the majority of the people always think, that it's either a drone that's following me or somebody is following me with a camera while I'm riding. And to be honest, it's none of those. It's just a 360 camera. I use the Insta360 1X2 camera, and I put it on a selfie stick. And with the magic of a 360 camera, whatever is in between the two lenses, aka the selfie stick, it's deleted.
That's awesome.
all that stuff. Like I don't have to do anything in post. It automatically deletes the stick, so it looks like basically a drone is following me. And that's
That's
how I'm
so
able to
awesome.
get all those like, cool perspectives, high angles, low angles, really tight shots. And the great thing about those cameras is you don't really have to do much framing. Like as long as you keep the camera in a position where you like it, you don't have to worry exactly, if my framing is perfect, if I'm too high, if I'm too low, if I'm too far to the left or to the right.
Because that's
In
a problem
post,
with like a GoPro. Like, because if I have a GoPro, like I'm like, yeah, it's perfect shot, and suddenly it's like here and up. You don't you didn't
yeah,
check.
exactly. With the Insta360 cameras, because the fact that it's recording 360 degrees, in
Yeah,
post, you can actually move the
that's
lens
so awesome.
around. So you can frame it. I can always have it where I'm framed in the center of, the composition. So yeah, it works. It works out
That,
for me
that's awesome.
because the way I like to ride, I do tend to move my hands a lot and I sway my body and I don't, I do a lot of movement. So with the 360 camera, I don't have to. That's one less thing I have to worry about is always having, to figure out, oh, is my camera angle right? Do I have it pointing at me in the right direction? It makes it a lot easier for me getting
That's
getting all
awesome.
the shots that I like.
And so like, and this is the cool area because like one of I interview people that are traditional creatives, people that are you know working in film, people that are working in music, people that, and like there's this really cool area that I love interviewing people, and they're like action sports people, right? People that are
Hmm.
doing really cool stuff, and they're just capturing it. And I was like, and and it's really cool. I have this one guy coming on who's a skydiver, a base
Oh,
jumper,
nice.
and I was just like, that's rad. That's something I'd love to do, but it's just you never thought about it. You never get a chance to. It's for a lot of
Hmm.
people. Now, how obviously you are much more advanced at riding your wheels, right?
Hmm.
Now, how do people get into this? Like, are there entry levels? Are there what are the baby steps into getting to where you're at, where you can ride it out in traffic, and around the streets?
Yeah, the great thing about electric unicycles, they come in different sizes and like basically different wheel sizes. And so you can start off with a wheel, like a 10-inch wheel, all the way up to a big 24-inch wheel.
Oh
So
wow,
depending on your skill level and yeah, and how your skill level, how big you are. If you're a kid, I guess you'd want to stay with a smaller wheel, obviously. And if you're, a big guy, say you're 6'5" or, or taller and 220, 30 pounds, whatever you are, you'd probably want to go with a bigger wheel, like a 20-inch or a 24-inch wheel, just to accommodate your height and your weight. But as far as learning, it's definitely a steep learning curve compared to any
that's what
other
I'm gonna say.
personal electric vehicles out there. Like I said, I used to ride electric longboards.
Yeah,
Learning that was, fairly easy. If you know how to skateboard, then you
yeah,
pretty much will have, learn how to, ride a longboard, electric longboard. But electric unicycles, they're very hard to learn. Just the balance. That's the main key. You have to get the balance right, and once you get the balance right, then it becomes fairly easy afterwards.
yeah.
Yeah. So
But
I
that
would
that
say
that initial
we
that initial learning the balance is
that would take you. I'd say for the average person, it would take them at least a couple days of practice just to
yeah,
get that balance right. It took me, I'd say, a solid day just to get my balance.
yeah.
Just my balance. That's like I'm not even going,
Just
15, 20 kilometers.
yeah,
Get my balance and roll at like 5, 10 kilometers max.
yeah.
But it wasn't until maybe a week or two, roughly 2 weeks, was when I was able to pretty much ride on the sidewalk, ride on the roads along with traffic. Yeah.
But one of the cool things about this I don't know if we're to classify it as a hobby or sport, because I would like to say sport as well, and there's a reason why. I'm seeing people starting to ride this on like off-road trails. Like I saw some people like that were challenging some like mountain biking trails. And I was like,
Yep.
I really feel like it's the beginning. It's like the early phases of a sport developing. You know what I mean? It's like even when
Yeah.
when rollerblading came out or skateboarding came out, there was a point in time where people were like, hey. I mean, I can imagine those first guys, or like some of those early. You ever watch the documentary about Dogtown? About the kids that were really
Yeah. Yeah.
revolutionizing
Yeah.
skateboarding in Venice, and like
Hmm.
let's and it was essentially a drought in California drained all these pools, and these kids are like, hey man, let's go skate in those things, and suddenly you get this just absolute transformation of skateboarding came about from these environmental conditions. And it's like when I see people and I saw this girl, and there were two things that I saw that I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Yours is kind of like a street style, but then there was this girl that I saw recently, this kid in China that was doing all these crazy like one-legged stunts, and it was kind of like a freestyle dance style video, and I was like, that's pretty wild. And what are some of the areas that this sport is kind of evolving right now, or hobby, whatever we want to call it?
They're starting to make it more. I know there are people right now in the U.S. that are trying to make it somewhat of a sport, because they're doing actual racing events now based on electric unicycles and one wheels. There was an event, I believe, in one of the speedways in California, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was another event somewhere, I think in Utah, where they did actually like a trail event. So it was more like a off-roading trails and whatnot. So yeah, it's cool. And I know in Russia there is a fellow out there. I think he goes by the name of Phantomus, and he actually hits like big, like vertical jumps. He does like a lot of these really insane bike jumps that looks just awesome. Like I've seen him hit like 360s in the air, and he's getting like some serious air, like I'm talking 20-30 feet up in the air easily. So yeah,
Wow.
I can definitely see this becoming somewhat of a sport down the line, with the technology of these wheels advancing as well, with the battery technology and motor sizing and all that. So yeah, it would be great if it came to an X Games near you.
Right. Well, it's interesting too to like one of the things that like living in a big city. I'm in a big city, but like the city I'm in is we never use cars. Like you never use a cars. It's like in the old days it was bicycles, and then now it's like scooters, and then eventually it's going to shift towards probably electric scooters for everyone. And just because there are small streets here where I live.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you got alleyways like this, man. You can't fit a car, and it's such a convenient mode of transportation, and so to me it just makes so much sense. Now, what are some of the things that you really, because I've never tried this. Normally when I have a topic and someone on, I can relate in some way.
Yeah.
Like going in, I'm like, yes, I understand that. I don't even have any idea of what it's like to ride one of these. What are some of the things that you really enjoy about riding?
When I compare it to any other PEV, I like the fact that with electric unicycles, they're very compact. So they're easy to bring in and out of stores. Like if I'm going to the corner store, I can just jump on my unicycle and head to the store. Great thing about these wheels is most of them have like a trolley handle, so it's like basically you're rolling a little suitcase into a store. So you don't have to worry about locking it up. You don't have to leave it outside. It's very convenient to just to do like little errands around the neighborhood. And I just honestly I like it because I can explore. There's so many places in the city that I was able to venture out to that I normally wouldn't do, in a car. And they're just like there's just so many cool spots that I've been to that I didn't even know existed in my city, which is great.
That's the thing, and that's one of the things that I learned living in Vietnam. Because, in Vietnam, one of the things that people in the West will not understand, and I don't know if you grew up in Canada, but I'm
Yes.
sure you know the idea of the hem. Have you heard about the hem?
No,
Did you
no.
ever
What is
hear
that?
about that? Okay, so cool. I get to teach something. A hem is something like, so. One of the weird things is like here, and not weird, but it's very different. And I noticed it also in Tokyo. They have a similar type of concept. Like in the West, we have these big subdivisions. Everything is based on main streets, and there's a house and a yard, and then there's a street,
Mm-hmm.
right? But in parts of Asia, you have the main street and you get these alleyways that leads down to another alleyway. And so it's like these little like capillaries of the street that kind of go out into everything. And some
Mm-hmm.
of these hems, like they're this wide, I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's the width of a motorbike or two people, and so the cool thing is so one of the things that I recognized when I started riding motorcycles more often and motorbikes in Asia was the smells. And let me explain that. Like you actually breathe the air from the world around you. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I think is so crazy cool about that is that you actually get to experience the city. When we're in a car, you've got all of these layers that separate you from the world. You've got your
Yeah.
windshields, you've got the air, the heater from the cold air, you got that heater so it separates you from the outside air. You've got your music so you don't have
Music.
to hear all of the stuff. And literally you have all these layers. And now with like smart vehicles, you don't have to even really pay attention to the road that much. It's like, some of the Teslas will do the driving for you. You shouldn't sleep.
Yep.
We're not there yet. All those idiots that go to sleep in their Teslas. That's another story. But we have all of these layers removed. And then, with your wheel, like you experience it. You're experiencing the city,
Definitely, definitely. Like I said, there's just so much freedom with these wheels that I don't get, driving my car. That I don't get, while taking. I haven't done it, but taking transit to wherever I have to go. I love it. I can't say anything else. I wish everybody could experience it, and I wish people like it becomes more mainstream, and it becomes the norm where instead of people wanting to purchase a car down the line, they might consider buying an electric unicycle. Just to get around town. I'm not saying for long distances. I'm talking more just town. Commuting.
Understand.
20, 30 minutes around town. It's very, I think it's doable.
And especially for big cities. Like I remember when I lived in LA, right? When I lived in LA, to go, maybe sometimes in LA to go 4 miles would take an hour,
Yeah.
7 kilometers, because LA, it was just, you hit between 7 and 10 in the morning, and between 4 to 6 in the afternoon. If you went anywhere, it was a nightmare. But I was like, if I had, an electric unicycle, man, I could have been just zipping to work, zipping to this place. And you don't. Yeah. And the problem with LA is parking. It's impossible to find parking in Los Angeles. Yeah. Impossible. Not a problem if you have an electric unicycle.
Yeah, there's so many benefits. First of all, there's no gas. It's electric. So, all you have to do is just top it up. You can
How
get
long does the charge last?
Depending on the battery size, you can get, I know some of them can get up to like 200 kilometers on a single charge.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, an average unicycle, you're looking at anywhere from like, I'd say 80 to 100, 110 maybe kilometers on a single charge. That's more than most people will do on a single commute or a single day. So, you normally you'll use it for the day, go home, charge it at night, and you have a fresh battery in the morning, and you can go about your day and just enjoy. Another benefit, the fact that it's electric. There's no license required, no insurance required. You don't
awesome.
need to You know, you don't need a license. You don't have to, take any tests or anything like that. As long as you just know how to ride it,
Yeah.
you're good.
Do you ever get any? That's one of the things I was thinking about. Like, where do you fall in? Because you're on the road. Do they say, hey, you're like a bicycle? Is that how it's kind of classified?
Yeah, I would. I'd say it's in the same lane as a bicycle. So we do share the roads with cars, as long as we're on the side of the road, and not really impeding traffic. It's good.
That's awesome. Well, my other question and my other thought was I wanted to ask about this because one of the things that I saw, and this is that when I saw the girl riding on the off road, the first thing that came to my mind was because I've ridden bikes and motorcycles, and you know, what I was noticing is as she's going over those bumps, and there was a video on Instagram a month ago, and it was the most insane video I've seen, and it was a girl training for like downhill skiing. And all it was is it was this machine that was going up and down like this. And she had to like try to keep her body steady. And I was like, oh man, you don't think about how much of a leg workout, because like for the shock absorbers for a downhill skier, it's their legs. And what I was noticing with this girl is when this girl was riding, the electric unicycle on the off-road, it was all here. And I was like, it might look fun and relaxing, but I was like, that looks to me like it's kind of a full body exercise too. Like, it doesn't look like it's a peaceful thing. It looks fun, but it doesn't look like it's like something you relax into.
Yeah, well, definitely if you're going on trails, it's more taxing on your legs and your body.
Mm-hmm.
But like for the average person who's commuting around their neighborhood, you have mainly smooth roads and whatnot. Maybe you get a little bit of gravel and uneven surfaces, but the sizes of these wheels, it compensates for a lot of those imperfections in the roads.
Nice.
And a great thing is, I say within the last, was it year and a half, they started coming out with electric unicycles with built-in suspension.
See, that's
now
it.
Your riding is a lot more comfortable. I just got a wheel with suspension 2 months ago, and let me tell you, for riding these for 4 years and only experiencing a suspension wheel within the last 2 months, it was
game changer.
I would say, yeah, it's definitely a game changer when it comes to the comfort factor. Like when I'm going around town, I don't feel anything. Like it's so smooth. It's like I'd say going from a Honda Civic to like riding a Bentley or something like that. Just the smoothness of it is just it's incredible.
That's awesome, man. Now, talk to me about the way you ride though, because you ride a little bit. And I ride the same. When I ride a motorcycle, I don't ride reckless. I don't ride fast, but I ride hard.
Yeah.
I ride hard. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. Like I'm not out of control. I'm always in control, but I ride hard. Now, tell me about your riding style and how do you approach it? And like I gotta say, man, the black helmet. You're kind of like you're rocking kind of like the Daft Punk, like
like the cyberpunk look,
cyberpunk Tron. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Tron, and like honestly, that was one of the vibes that I got, man. It was like kind of like a Tron like vibe, with the whole unicycle. Yeah. So tell me, how did you find your style of riding?
Well, honestly, I've always had a thing for gear and fashion. So I always want to incorporate a little bit of my style into my riding, because I notice with a lot of these electric unicycle riders, a lot of them tend to wear like fully geared up like motorcycle like padding and like helmets, like gloves, elbow pads, wrist pads, all that. I wasn't into that stuff. Like I like with my riding style, I like a lot of movement. I like to be swaying, and I listen to music a lot when I'm riding. And I just get into the groove. And when I'm in the groove, I'm normally moving left and right like this. And that's just the way I ride. I've always been like that, and I guess people like seeing that. So yeah, it's kind of cool that people enjoy, awesome. Watching the way I flow, I guess.
There was a thing that my wife talked about today, and this is something that I wanted to pick your brain, because like your this is something that you enjoy doing, but you are definitely, moving into the realm of influencer. You got a
Mm.
following, you got to, you have people that are seeking out your content. How does it feel to be someone that people are kind of seeking out as a, let me share a quick backstory too, so I can kind of explain the question a little bit.
Okay.
I got into the field of doing like new media for people because I was working in LA 15 years ago in a hair salon,
Hmm.
and it was a part-time job while I was in graduate school, and I was like, hey, let me do your videos to my boss, and she's like, all right, sure. And so I started doing just doing videos on the side and kind of throwing together some simple videos for YouTube. And it was interesting because people started watching the videos and they would come to the place and be like, oh, hey, there's Mateo, there's this guy, there's this guy. People would come in and they'd know everyone's names just because watching on YouTube. And
Yeah, yeah.
they really felt like they knew us, and they were like, oh, it's so great to meet all you guys. Finally, I came from Ohio and I was like, I watched your videos and I wanted to come here. We're like, wow, that's awesome.
Uh,
How is it being like this influencer that shares this? What's it like?
uh, like I'm a big fan of electric unicycles, and I try to advocate as much as possible. And when
Yeah.
I see, whenever I get DMs and messages, comments, asking about electric unicycles or gear and how I get started, uh, I like it. I want to help people. I want to show them, how I got started. I want to give them tips and tricks, and I just want people to, you know, I just want to help people when it comes to the wheels and stuff like that. So,
Hmm.
as far as influencing goes, I I haven't really experienced a lot like out and about. I ran in a few people that follow me, and that would scream out, "Hey, what's going on, electric roller?" And it does. At first, it was weird, but then after a while, I was like, "Oh, cool." The fact that you recognize me on the road, and you're saying what's up. I appreciate that. It's kind of
Right.
cool that people are people notice me just because of me riding my wheel around town.
Yeah. Right. And it's awesome too because you know um like there's a cool two sides to it. One, like when I look at your channel, like you're not just putting up interesting content, like you've got some really cool photos. And are you is that just exactly how the camera takes the picture, or are you throwing these into Lightroom? Is this stuff that you're cleaning up? I mean, how are you approaching some of your content?
For all my photos, I do use Lightroom. I just use
Mhm.
Lightroom Mobile. Pretty much all the content that I put on my social is done through my iPhone. Like
That's
I
awesome.
edit all my videos with CapCut.
Mhm.
I do all my photo editing with Lightroom Mobile and with Snapseed, and those seem to be working for me.
That's awesome, man. It's
Yeah,
like this is one of the things too. Like when I talk to filmmakers trying to make movies, or people that are like one of the things that's a common theme is that if you wanted to make your own movie 20 years ago, good luck. You
oh
know,
yeah.
good luck. Because
Hmm.
it's like you're gonna have to go get cinema cameras. I mean, if it's gonna look like the quality of what people are expecting, you're gonna have to go buy all that film. You're gonna need to know people who know how to use it. It was just
Hmm.
exponentially expensive. But now you can get a small mirrorless camera, like the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K is like $1,200. You can get the new Canon R5 or R3, a couple $1,000, and they shoot beautiful. When
Hmm.
if you want to, you can get the Red Komodo, or you know something like
Yeah,
people are making movies on their phones now. Like literally,
yeah,
people are
yeah.
shooting stuff on the iPhone, and
Absolutely.
it's so accessible. And this is cool that everything you're doing, everything in the box, in the phone is savage, man.
Pretty much, yeah, yeah. Like I do shoot on the side. I am a freelance videographer. I've been working for about 10 years now, doing a lot of freelance work. And I do own like the bigger cameras. I have a
Yeah.
Blackmagic, Pocket 4K. I have a couple of the Sony cameras, which I use, all the time. And I find for this style of content that I'm pushing out on my social, all I really need is my iPhone and my
Yeah.
360 camera, and I can just basically do everything directly on my phone. I don't have to worry about jumping into the computer, the laptop, and editing on Premiere, or using Photoshop or Lightroom on the laptop. I can just do pretty much everything on the go on my phone, and yeah, it's cool
That's awesome.
how technology is, just
Right.
making it so accessible and easy for us,
Oh,
content creators.
right. Well, one of
Yeah.
the things too that people talk about, and this is something I talked about to people that do content, like, first of all, make content that stuff you enjoy. But second of
Hmm.
all, be smart with your time. Like, let me make an example. Like for these podcasts I do, I try to get one up a day, but it's an hour of content, right?
Mm.
But it's still the easiest edits you would imagine. I create my templates, I throw my templates down, I throw everything on, I kind of clean up the audio, clean up the video, color correct a tiny bit, and then I watch it. Add an intro, outro, and that's it. Versus if I'm making someone like a video blog, or if I'm doing some type of thing like that, man, those take maybe a couple days to edit. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
because you gotta get your music, you gotta deal with all your cuts,
Yep.
and this is one shot. I've got your shot, I've got my shot, and then I was looking, I was like, damn, should I hook up my mirrorless camera and have the mirrorless camera here, so I can get some nice depth of field? But then I was playing around with it, and just the webcam just works so much more. So
Yeah.
I'm not going in and out of focus when I move, and so it's like sometimes the simple stuff is better
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for what you're doing.
Exactly, exactly.
So you touched on something that I was wanting to ask about. So yeah, you worked in doing freelance like cinematography work, right?
Yes.
How did you get into filmmaking? How did you get into to camera?
Uh, I've always had a love for photography in high school.
Nice.
I had, a regular SLR camera back in high school, and I used to do a lot of photo work.
I've got
Then
mine up
after
there, man. Not DSLR. I've got my SLR. What
SLR,
did you
yeah.
shoot? Yeah, I
Oh
had the.
man,
What do you shoot on? You remember?
I can't remember. I know it was a Canon. I just can't remember the body. I don't have it
Yeah.
anymore. But
So,
yeah, I remember those SLR days, which was
they're
a
awesome, man.
while back.
Right?
But pretty much
Dating
after like high
myself.
school, pretty much after high school, I stopped taking, stopped. I didn't have any interest in
Yeah.
photography anymore because I had my little one at a young age, so I was pretty much being a family man and paying the bills, working
Yeah.
whatnot. So I didn't really have much time as far as my passion and doing hobbies and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I'd say about 11 years ago, a buddy of mine, a close friend of mine, he got into filmmaking and he was shooting on, I can't remember which one. I think it was Panasonic camcorders at the time.
Mm,
And yeah, he was into it. I kind of got a little, it kind of sparked my interest when I seen him, doing this stuff. And so he mentioned to me that they're coming out with these new cameras. Canon is coming out with this new camera called the 5D and the
right.
7D, and that they're photo cameras, but they actually shoot video as well.
Oh.
And so I was like, wow, I actually can take photos and shoot video all on, a single camera. And so yeah, that sold me. I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna invest in a 7D and get back into this. So I think it was about 10 or 11 years ago. It was a Boxing Day sale going on. I decided to go to my local photography store. I purchased the 7D and I spent I'd say a couple months just on YouTube learning, the fundamentals of photography, and I just started snapping away. Then eventually, once I got used to, once I got the photography side down, I decided that, I want to explore some of the video side. And so I started doing, a little bit of video work here and there. And one thing led to another. I just started I posted my stuff on social media, and it got into the right hands, and people were like, wow, we like your content and we want to pay you to shoot some stuff for us. And I was
Thank
like,
you.
sure, why not? And then, after that, pretty much the rest was history. I decided that, I want to take on this freelance videography stuff seriously, and quit my job and pursued it full time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Like, one of the things that I think my friend and I were having this discussion the other day. One of the things that we were talking about is the importance of original content, like, and building your own brand. And so it's really cool to see you building out. I'm sure you're doing stuff for other stuff, but like, me too. Like, I, for a long time, have built other people's brands. And then as I'm building my podcast, I'm like, it's time to build mine, build content I like. You know what I mean? And it's like, because I've got this skill set. I feel like every time I talk about this, I feel like the guy from Taken. I've got a particular set of skills. You know what I'm saying? We'll find you. I can't do a Liam Neeson voice, man. I can do so many good voices, but I can't do Liam Neeson. But you got this skill set, and then you're kind of directing it back in on yourself, because like you hadn't told me that you were working at, that you had this background in videography and cinematography when we chatted, and I was like, but now looking at your channel, I was like, that makes so much more sense, because it's like,
yeah, I've been editing and shooting for the last 10 years pretty much.
Yeah, but you see it because the simple things like simple colors in simple layout, like I looked, my first podcast that I did was not bad. It was a nice layout, but now the stuff, like the visuals that I'm creating, they look good, man. Like, I'm proud of that. And and people will be like, people will message me and they're like, how long have you been making your podcast? I was like, 2.5 months. I was like, it's a newer project for me, but I'm good at production. Like, I've been doing video production for, geez, how many years? 15 years. And now this is my thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is my thing that I'm doing. And so I have the know-how, and you make it look good, make it fun. Crank up that content level. But what about this? I got a cool question for you. Now, I hope it's a cool question. Now, if you could go back in time and give your younger self some advice, what advice would you give yourself?
Advice about the business, or advice? Anything. Save your money. I know, as a younger me, when I had the money, I wanted to spend it, and I always didn't think long run. I always thought of short term. What will make me happy right now, and so at that time when I was younger, cars were the thing that made me happy, and adding stuff to my car and making it look different and painting my car and just doing all this cool stuff to my car was what made me happy at the time. But looking back at it, it didn't do anything for me in the long run. Like, if I would have taken that money that I put into my car and invested into property, or if I invested it into, camera gear that would make me money down the line, something that would, make me more money, then that's one thing I would have said to my younger self, that, don't waste your money on things that are only going to, make you happy for the short term. Think about the long run.
I think that's so something that schools don't teach us enough. And, our parents are like, focus on saving. And we're like, yeah, shut up, mom, dad, But then afterwards, you get to be the parents, your parents' age, and like, wow, really should have listened. That was pretty good advice back then. But yeah, I think it's an interesting point. Now, how about for your career? What advice would you give your younger self about your career?
If you're passionate about what you're doing, and you really love what you're doing, follow through. Like, even though it might not work out at the beginning, eventually it'll work out for you. Like, if you're a photographer, you're a videographer, and this is really your passion, and it's something that you really like to do, it'll pay off. It'll pay off in the long run. Uh, just just stick with it.
Yeah.
Would be my advice.
Right. Sometimes I think there was this great like infographic that I refer to all the time, but it's like this not infographic. It's just like a little meme or just a cartoon. And so there's these two people digging down to like, and like below each person is a diamond, or one person, this person finds a small diamond. They dug a little bit into the ground. This person's like got this deep hole, and right below them, there's this giant diamond. And they're like, I'm going to give up now. And it's like, you don't know what's going to be the thing. You know, my friends are like, well, what's your goal with your podcast? And I'm like, I don't know.
Mm,
I don't know, man. But I like doing it.
yeah.
I feel like it's something that's fun. I feel like it's natural, and I get to meet cool people, and you never know what doors are going to open from anything that you're doing. But
Mm,
you do it, and then you kind of let life take the reins on the other part, you know.
hmm Yeah,
But you
yeah.
got to lean in on what you love. You got to lean in.
Exactly. Yeah. Even like coming back to the electric roller, like my social media account, I've only
Yeah.
started it back in March. And
See,
if it
there you
wasn't
go.
for a friend of mine who's like, he's always seen me riding. He's like, you really need to put this, like, you need to put some content out. Like, I see you riding, and you're good at it. So why don't you just put it out, show people? And I was always hesitant at first. I'm like, yeah, I like to film myself and just watch, what I film, but I don't think anybody's gonna really care to watch it. And because of him, I said, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot, throw it out there, see what happens. And uh, it was slow. I didn't really get much engagement for the
Yeah.
first, I'd say, 2, 3 months. But then, I don't know, it's just, that one video clicked and people just started noticing it. And eventually, when, that one video that kind of goes viral, or that a lot of
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
like, all your other videos will eventually, get noticed and be seen. And then, yeah, here I am now, like what I say, 10 months in, and got a decent amount of followers
Dude,
on,
you're cranking them out,
Instagram.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like legit, and that's the cool thing. It's like, wh- where would you like to take this? What if this could become a bigger thing? Where would you like to take this project, this thing?
Where would I like to take this? I would love to work with some of the companies, and help create more wheels. Like, I have a lot of
That'd be
input
sweet.
as far as what I think, you know, could be improved, what could be added, what could be taken away. And yeah, I would definitely like to eventually help make, you know, help out these companies when it comes to electric unicycles, and I guess be part of their, what is it, engineering team?
It's awesome, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and I think the cool thing is like if you continue to build your brand, you will be kind of the expert, you know,
Mm,
and that's the cool part about new media is like we can create these platforms that we can create change, you know, and it's like it is this cool place like that you can actually be part of the solution. Like
uh-huh.
that's the cool thing. I really like was like with an electric roller with electric unicycle. Sorry, you are part of the solution to climate change, like literally. A lot of people, oh, I'm gonna walk today, and then they drive for the next 6 days, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like, granted, granted it's harder in the west too, because it's you got, not in the west but in colder climates,
Yes.
it is more challenging, and people try to stay warm by staying in a car, but like there's a lot of places that in a lot of times of the year where if you have alternatives like this, it's a game changer, you know.
hmm Yeah, for sure. I totally agree.
Be part of the solution. Now, if I gave you Aladdin's lamp, what would you wish for?
What I wish for? That's a good question. Oh, what would I wish for? That question. I don't know how to answer that question.
It's tricky, right?
It is very tricky.
I'll give you 2 wishes. So you can have one as kind of be a cast off, and there's less pressure to actually nail it.
Well, obviously, I would love to win the lottery.
There we go. All right.
That would be number one. What would I wish for? Man, that's really, you stumped me on that one. I might have to get back to you on that.
No worries. We'll do next time. We can nail it next
Okay.
time. That's awesome. Now, with your life, were there any people that were really instrumental in influencing you and inspiring you in your journey?
Yeah. I would say, to be honest, I don't really have a big group of friends, and I was never really that close with my family members.
Mm.
And growing up, I've always kind of kept to myself and been more of a soloist, I would
Yes.
say, or so I didn't really have a big group of people to kind of like fall back on, or that helped me or inspired me. A lot of the stuff I did was I just motivated myself
So
to be
that's my
honest.
other question. Then let me reframe the question. Then, how do you go about inspiring yourself?
How do I go about inspiring myself?
Movies, music. What are some of the things that kind of give you inspiration? Or nature, riding fast.
Freedom. I just
I like
like I like the fact I like to explore. I'm always trying to find new places to explore, and that inspires me. That really makes me, knowing that this I'm a small person living in this huge world. Like there's so
Yeah.
much that I can see that I haven't seen yet that I want to see, and so that inspires me. Like I want to go out there, and I want to see these different places. I want to try out these different things. That's yeah. I say that would be it.
That's awesome. There was this. I'm going to paraphrase, but there was this interview I saw with one of these great explorers, like of the like in the 1800s or something. These guys that were going to North Pole, climbing the biggest mountain, going into the deepest jungle they could find. And when one of these guys was asked why are you doing this, and he was like, because I can. Because it's there. There is a mountain there, and no one has
Yep.
ever climbed it. And that in and of itself is enough reason that we should try. Because why not? There was a photo someone I saw posting yesterday of one of the mountains at Yosemite. And you always see the photos of these guys climbing them. It's just super cool, like all of these really like hardcore rock climbers. But then there was this beautiful photo that it's one of the first photos that I've actually seen show the absolute scale of some of those mountains, those cliffs there in Yosemite. These beautiful, beautiful cliffs that people will climb.
Uh-huh.
And you think about that, and I was looking at it going, who was the first guy that just looked at that and said, yeah, let's do this? Just straight up the face of it. It's like, had to be that one person. It was like, there was a first. And like,
Yeah.
how awesome would it be to be that person that just,
Mhm.
I'm a huge Star Trek fan. And so
Okay.
like, to boldly go where no one has gone before, that's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
awesome.
It is.
Well, awesome, man. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation tonight, and I want to
Me
thank
too.
you for your time, brother.
No problem. I hope
Yeah.
you have enough
That's awesome.
content.
It was awesome, man. Well, yeah, that was super sweet, man. I'm gonna people, if you haven't yet already, pause this interview to go check out. Then at the end page, go now, because it's awesome, and you will be rewarded. And you should probably go out and buy your own electric unicycle, honestly, because it's awesome. I would get one. I don't know, man. I think it'd be terrified to ride an electric unicycle over here.
I think it would be. I would actually love to ride my unicycle over there. I think it would be so
dude,
great.
you have to bring it if you come back to visit after travel opens up. You have to go, and I will
Oh,
help
yeah.
you film that, man. That'd be awesome.
I think we can get some great content filming. Going through the streets of Saigon and Ho Chi Minh City. Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah, I think it'd be savage. But yeah,
Yeah.
I will follow you on my electric motorbike. There we go.
Okay.
Awesome.
Sounds
Well, brother,
good.
I'm gonna take you on a ride. We're gonna burn through the night. Why you're so salty? I'll still take a bite.
Okay, you can take my Lambo. I'll put on a tight show. You sure you can handle